people want authentic experiences, whether it's food, music, art. I think authenticity and staying true to your core is what's going to differentiate you. Points for dollars is not a loyalty program. It's a feature of your entire marketing apparatus. 6 people came to that store 5 or more times inside 30 days.
But what do you do with that information? I think that's the thing that everyone's just...
You act like a damn human. Troy's picking up the fucking phone.
Today, I'm joined on the Restaurant AI podcast by none other than Troy Hooper. Troy's a restaurant executive, brand builder, and the CEO of Pepper Lunch USA. Troy spent more than 30 years in hospitality and most recently joined Pepper Lunch, a 540-unit Japanese brand with a footprint in over 17 countries across the globe. But more than anything, Troy is just a great human being and someone who truly believes in this industry with all his heart. But before we dive in, I want to give a special thanks to our sponsor, ClearCOGS. ClearCOGS is a leading provider of demand forecasting software in the restaurant industry because the path to greater profits is always clear when you know what's ahead. With that, I give you my conversation with Troy Hooper. Well, Troy, appreciate you coming on today. It's a good thing to have you.
It's a great way to start off the conversation. Nice, light, easy, gentle.
I think between the two of us, starting off subdued is probably good because, who knows where this thing's going to go.
It's going to elevate quickly. We're going to get on. It's like a roller coaster.
Really.
We're going to go up, 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 up. And then all of a sudden there's going to be screaming at the back. So,
well, I can tell you where you and I started.
Let's do it.
You were a random message I sent out on LinkedIn just calling for help. This is pre-Pepper Lunch. And this guy says, Matt, I don't know you, but I'm happy to give you some advice. And I kid you not, I get on with you and you just lay out some restaurant wisdom like nobody had before. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? And, how is he getting on to help me? And sure enough, I just watched your journey going from, consulting and talking with people like me to being the international man of mystery that is like on stage at every event. And I don't know a whole lot about Troy pre-Pepper Lunch. Like, I know it was a 30 years in the making to become this international sensation, but I'd love to get the synopsis of the 30 years. How did you get into the business?
Yeah, I was kind of born into it. My father owned a couple of construction companies. One of his passions was restaurant, bars, and nightclubs. I grew up on the construction site of those types of venues, watching and participating. I mean, I was hauling trash and painting walls. And
just to be clear, he was an enthusiast of restaurants and nightclubs. I assume in the construction side, he's not just taking you to the floor. We built him by day and enjoyed him by night. Yeah, he was Mr. Happy Hour. There's no doubt about that. He liked to go to a good party and throw a good party. So no, he was a bit of a party animal and enjoyed life a lot, which was, great for him. So I did. No, I spent a lot of time at the bar at Bennigan's and others in my day. Flanagan's down in South Florida, other places like that. As I say, I know you're in Southern California, but I'm somehow getting like Bronx vibes.
No, I'm from Miami originally. So my dad's second generation Miamian, and I was third generation Miamian. So
where'd you grow up in Miami?
Yeah, I grew up in Coral Gables. Yeah, Little Havana side of Coral Gables, the back side of Coral Gables.
And my wife was born in Hialeah Hospital.
Yes, I'm aware. I remember this.
Small world.
It is.
All right. So you're in Miami, and just like everybody in Miami, they bring kids to the bar.
They do, for sure, especially in the 70s and 80s. So yeah, grew up on the construction side. Thought I wanted to be an architect, actually. My dad threw a lot of parties. He was famous for a 72-hour New Year's Eve party. Again, guys, this is 70s and early 80s. So
it's like Cocaine Cowboys time, right?
No, it literally was. And there's stories we won't record here for that. But my dad, thankfully, was never directly caught up in any of that, but it was around us in you couldn't get away from a lot of that stuff going on. So,
but you're in the boom, right? This is where everybody's moving to Miami. There's lots of money going around. Everybody's building, everybody's opening nightclubs. It's like 70s, 80s.
Yeah. A lot going on. My dad was busy. That's for sure. Hurricane Andrew comes along. wipes out 3 years of my learning how to be a draftsman of architectural plans, and takes and throws the whole plan for a loop. So I decided to go to culinary school because, again, dad throwing a lot of parties, spending a lot of time in restaurants. I had really developed an interest in cooking, an interest in catering and stuff like that. So I went to culinary school and got the typical jobs out of culinary school while going to college and culinary school at the same time, working in the family Italian restaurant across the street from the college, and then getting a job for Brinker, bounced around between Chili's and Macaroni Grill in apprenticeship and things like that. Ended up in really finer dining hotels and resorts, and became a sous chef eventually of a Michelin star level restaurant. And got burnt out pretty quick. I mean, just chews you up. You're working 80, 100-hour weeks and getting yelled at and getting frying pans thrown at you for silly things. And
I was going to say, I always think of you as, the buttoned up business side of the restaurant. No. I can't imagine you in the
sweating in a kitchen in Miami. I promise you, sweating my butt off in a kitchen in Miami.
It kind of warms my heart to think you've cleaned a grease trap at some point in your life.
I grew up, again, construction. When you're a kid and teenager in construction, you haul dirt and garbage, and that's all you do. Here, there's a room full of crap. Just start taking it out to the dumpster. So
I don't know what it is about fathers, but I had the same thing. It was like you turned 14, 15, you got a work permit. And, my dad went and called the local construction company. And it's like, hey, I'd like you to bring my son on. And it was almost like hazing.
Yeah.
Father-son hazing.
Yeah. Teach him how to work hard, sweat, and get dirty, But anyway, I went to business school towards the back end of my cooking career. I decided I wanted to get on the front of the house. I just really came from an entrepreneurial family, and watching my dad and his business and my grandfather before him. And so I went to business school and got recruited by Procter & Gamble in business school, and spent 5 years, which is really the most formative years of my professional career, learning how to work in a Fortune 100 company, and getting all that training and all that attention and all that development that they give you. And it happened to be in the late 90s, which was great because basically I had an unlimited corporate credit card and was told to go out and wine and dine people and learn this business, blah, blah, blah. And really cut my teeth in sales. And then I moved into training, ended up being the VP of training for the company. I ended up not keeping that role because it required me to move to Dayton, Ohio, or Cincinnati, officially Dayton. But, being a kid from Miami, traveling all over the country for 5 years on the company's dime, having a great time in my 20s, moving to Dayton, Ohio was not high on the list. So walked away from that and decided I wanted to get back into hospitality. Very quickly, a lot of companies started just randomly calling for consulting because of what I'd done for Procter & Gamble. I had an opportunity to do quite a bit of consulting, not in hospitality first, but it really taught me how to sort of do consulting, how to run my own practice. So I stood up a consulting business, which became a management business very quickly in hotels, resorts, private clubs, golf clubs, city clubs, particularly.
Before we get into that, I kind of want to rewind for a second. I'm always curious about restaurant people that go back to business school. What was that like? Because I remember going from Jimmy John's and I went back to business school, and you slowly realize how different the restaurant industry is.
Yeah, nobody in the restaurant industry to that point had even shown me what a P&L looked like. That just was something that there's just no training going on inside you're put in a silo, you're put on a track, and you're kept there. And the longer they can keep you sort of in your box, the better for them, they think. But that's just not the case. I think a more well-rounded person, you gotta develop people. You gotta give them an opportunity and show them a way. So I went outside the industry to go learn that. Look, I loved business school. I was eating it up. I was starving for information, and particularly around the ability to build and run a business. I really wanted to learn the foundations of it, the basics, the building blocks, and then become more and more educated about the details of it. And look, school will never teach you the how. It'll just teach you the what. And then the how, you've got to get out there and actually do it and learn. I remember the first time being asked for a consulting proposal. I'm on a very rudimentary computer slash, I think it was even, I don't think I had a computer at the time. I think it was actually
what year is this,
a word
by the way?
processor. Late 90s, 97, 98, 99.
This is a Windows 95 proposal.
Oh, maybe not even though. I think I just had a word processor. I don't think I could afford a computer. So I create, basically a fancy Word document to write up a initial proposal. And like, you just figuring it out. You're just like, how do I look and sound professional? How do I convince this company that I'm going to bring them value if they pay me money? And so, pretty fun. So just kind of ran down that track. One customer after.
Do you remember your first contract? Who's the first person you signed? What do they want you to do?
First one was a veterinary hospital, multi-unit veterinary hospital that wanted an evaluation of their business practices and inefficiencies, and really just looked at their purchasing, their staffing, and their just business operations overall. Did some cost.
Were you freaked out? Was it like one of those like fake it till you make it? Like I think I can make the veteran hospital or veterinarian hospital work. Yeah. Or
I had a little
like,
understanding.
Yeah.
That's what I had spent time around in Procter and Gamble. So that's how I got those gigs. Initially was I had spent time in the veterinary track at Procter and Gamble on their nutraceutical and nutrition side. So I had awareness in that industry, in that niche, in that area. So that's why it made sense at the time. But
who's the first restaurant you signed?
Wasn't restaurants. Was hotels and private clubs first. So small boutique hotel that wanted help in figuring out their food and beverage program, actually. And then I was in new development. I spent time at a new resort building out their F&B and other activities and things for the resort. So it's
that would make a lot of sense given construction, like, that you're used to
early development, new concept. I got hired by Vail Resorts and Hilton to go to Breckenridge, Colorado, and help. They were buying their first on ski run resort in the world. Hilton had never done that. Vail Resorts bought the building. They were making it a Hilton property, and they did a joint venture. So I got to go in there and conceptualize the full service restaurant, do a completely new concept, and then build out two more outlets, a grab and go bistro outlet that was Starbucks served product. So I got to go through the whole Starbucks experience, which was really cool. So just stuff like that. I love building. I love getting in and getting my hands on something that is either new or needs to be redone, rebuilt. I did a lot of turnaround. Most of my management practice, we went in and took over, did turnaround management for a number of years of these types of venues. So we would come in with a team and take over a property that was either being bought, had just been bought, or they wanted to sell but couldn't sell because they didn't have the numbers to sell it. And so they'd want to turn the business around as best they could and get it stood up and in good shape. And so that's really where my Kiwi practice began, was developing the turnaround business and management. So those are usually 12 to 18 month, up to 24 month contracts. You come in, you spend time building out, fixing, setting up new profit centers, redeveloping outlets like food and beverage outlets and things like that. And then they get put into a position where they just need ongoing. So often they'll hire, a management company to come in on a long-term 10-year contract and run the property.
Why do you have to turn around a restaurant? Like, is it truly they should have brought you in at the beginning and you guys would have opened it correctly and then it would have needed to have been turned around? Or is it
sometimes been around for decades? I mean, restaurants and hotels, resorts, private clubs, city clubs. I mean, most of the time they just grow stagnant. They just grow tired. They aren't reinvested in. They aren't updated. They aren't modernized. They don't think about the future. They just kind of do what they did yesterday every day. And the problem with that is other people do other things that are more interesting. And so you become irrelevant. And so they needed a big shot in the ass, so to speak. And so you kind of come in and pull in the China shop, sort it out, figure it out, and get some excitement going and get some investment in it and make it work.
Again, that kind of feels like status quo for the restaurant industry. In some ways, I always like chalk it up to private equity, buying these restaurant brands and just thinking, how do I extract as much money out of them and not reinvest, make them a cash cow? But you see it time and time again, and it's not always private equity backed businesses. Why is it the restaurants seem to struggle to stay current? Because they have such a quick feedback loop, right? You have customers telling you, with their dollars, whether or not you are doing what you should be doing.
Owners, whether they're owned or being invested in from outside, they work in their business, not on their business. I mean, that's the answer. If you're working on your business, you're standing back, you're looking at it from the outside, you're gaining external perspective, whether it's by going to conferences and summits or consuming podcasts or reading books or getting in on roundtable or mastermind groups. In multi-industry, particularly, I spent a lot of time in Vistage, which is a pretty high-level sort of mastermind networking group, where it's intentional that there's 10 or 15 people in a group that are from all industries and all size businesses, from executives of big companies down to small business owners, one-man shops. So, they just don't get outside perspective, and so they just do.
Were you doing this back then?
Yeah.
Like Vistage and those network groups?
Yeah. I've always had a hunger for development. I've always wanted to learn. I've always wanted to know what other people are doing. If, I have a few adages, they're not mine. I've just picked them up. But, one that's always stuck with me because I hate running. I'm not an exercise kind of guy. I think it's pretty obvious when you look at me. But if you want to run faster, run with people that run faster than you. If you want to get into running, you should get into a running group and find the people that run faster than you. Not the fastest, not the elites, not the crazy nuts out in the front that are killing everybody, but get in that middle pack where you can pick up information, observation. You can just be around these people and you'll pick up tips and tricks and you'll observe some of their technique and their process. You then, of course, are in a position to ask for help and say, hey, I want to get better. I see you're doing pretty good. Tell me how you got to be a better runner, right? And I want to learn from that path. So you can apply that to anything. That's just sort of the what I use is sort of the visualization, but you can do that anywhere. So you've got to put yourself in a position to see what other people are doing, get around the people doing what you want to do. If you want to be a 50-unit, multi-unit franchise business, then you need to hang out with people who have achieved that or greater. And it's just really easy to do, to ask for help.
Doesn't that put you in a tough position today as being a franchisor? Because I think of franchisors as being like, hey, you don't need to go seek other advice. I've given you a playbook. If you want to be successful, listen to what I say and execute it every single day. How do you view that? Because that was at least my experience for the franchise system. Work within your four walls, execute, don't ask too many questions. Now you're in that position. Do you want everyone asking questions?
The best ideas come from the franchisees because they're on the ground, in the field, closest to the customer and the employee every day. Period. Best ideas come from the franchisees. I will not stand up here and claim that I came up with the idea for a kids menu that we're going to launch in October. We had it on our radar. It was on the list. It was a black line on a piece of paper that said kids menu, develop, right? We didn't have a plan of when or how or what, but we had a franchisee say, listen, we're getting a lot of families in here, larger families in here. They're asking, we want to service them. We want them to keep coming back. So I want to be a part of helping push this forward. And I said, great. If you bring us the idea and you do a little bit of the homework, then I'll make sure that we look at it closely and we pushed it along. And we did. And in October, we'll launch a fully thought out, well executable kids menu. At Pepper Lunch, that's unique. We just can't put smaller versions of things in a bag. Like we had to, we kind of have a very specific process and a very specific size of product. So we had to develop all that. And that's, packaging and the kids and menu, cartoon menu, drawing and games and all of it that goes with it. So, not that we weren't going to do a kids menu, but we had the partnership of a franchisee to help lead the project. And I think if you view your relationship with your franchisees as a partnership, not a dictatorship, it's really the only way to succeed in the long term.
I want to get back to listening to your franchisees, but before we do, you spent 20 or 30 years as a franchise and, restaurant hospitality consultant. What makes a good one? And also, why are there so many consultants in this business?
I don't know the answer to number two, because the answer to number two in some cases is not a great reason. There are some great people who have done amazing things and then decided that they wanted to help more than one group at a time or more than one brand at a time. I think it's a pendulum. I think it comes and goes. A lot of people, I was a consultant, now I'm an executive. I'm also an owner of things, an investor of things. So it kind of moves. Like, it's never a straight line. I'll call out Kathleen Wood, one of my favorite consultants, right? I think there's a handful of people out there that are in it because they have an abundance of things to contribute. They have the energy and they have picked their lane and they know what they're doing, who they're doing it for, and why they're doing it. Kathleen's an amazing person. If you don't know her story, she was the first president and COO of Raising Cane's. She got in there at 5 million in revenue and left when they were at 55 million in revenue. I think, if don't quote me if I'm wrong, but it's somewhere in there. But she was a consultant for them, I believe, first. I think she was outside assistants that came in and then came inside like I did at Pepper Lunch. So,
I mean, it almost struck me that consultants in this industry really are just the sharers of information. They go around, it's like, we figured out the best practices for this brand and they're sharing it with others. So you kind of rising tide lifts all boats.
Crowdsourcing at the end of the day, right? Get in there, see what's going on, realize what the common mistakes or issues or challenges or opportunities are across the different segments, different sizes of businesses. And again, the best consultants probably do stay in a very narrow lane. Kathleen, as an example, you have to be, I think, above 5 million in revenue of a business. And I think you have to have, 5 to 10 units or more. Like, she's not an emerging. We spent a lot of time when we broke out into restaurants exclusively in 2015, we decided we were going to be founder built, not founder led. We were going to work with new concepts, getting off the ground, getting their feet under them, wanting to build a scalable system early that were well funded or resourced that could scale quickly and well. We wanted to be in that space. That was what was exciting to us. And so we picked our niche. Kathleen's picked her niche. I think a handful of others have done a great job picking their lane. And by the way, and a lot of times we overlap, and it's almost like a handoff. Like, I could help a founder build a brand and then hand it to Kathleen. She could take it to the mid level and then she would hand it off to somebody else to take it from, 50 units to 1,000 or whatever. But that's the reality. Is I think you do need to know what your strengths are, and you need to know what you don't know. And that's really, when you're talking about consulting, you're really hopefully getting in with a group of owners, investors, operators, partners, whatever it is, that have finally raised their hand and said, look, we got to this point, but we don't know what we don't know. We don't know how to go from here to the next point. And we need somebody who has done that or has helped a bunch of other people do that, come in and give us those insights and education and resources.
It's really hard to find the right consultant, right? Because you have to trust them. We just found a great consultant that we love. And I do think part of it is we were ready for them. We were looking for them. Like, we were open. How do you identify? I know there's a lot of consultants out there. How do they identify this is a client that really wants to work on the problem?
Yeah, they have to raise their hand. The client has to go looking, because if you get introduced to somebody because Bob told Steve he was struggling and he needed help and he didn't know what to do, in a lot of cases, they're already in trouble. And trouble is a problem because the consultant needs to get paid. And there needs to be money there to do the things that it's going to take to grow that business, invest in that business. So we specialize in private equity backed. Basically, the private equity companies were the ones saying, look, we invested or bought something. We don't have a team that specializes in that. We know there's a there, but we need somebody to go sit with that founder, that partnership group, and help them get where we believe they can get. And so the money and the resources came from private equity in those cases. That was our niche. But everybody's different. There's some phenomenal businesses out there that are making a ton of cash, but they don't know how to get from store 3 to 30 or store 5 to 15. Or they don't want to wait, right? They're like, I could build 1 or 2 a year, but how do you build 10 or 15 a year? How do you build 20 a year? How do we get to that level of scalability? And so it just different people for different solutions, really.
So everyone thinks they know what their problem is until they bring in the consultant. How often do people actually know what their problem is? And how long does it take for somebody like you to understand what their real problem is?
Yeah, I think typically they identify one or two things that are the loudest, the squeakiest wheels, or the things they feel like they know is a problem. Most of the time, those are symptoms. Most of the time, there's a core problem. There's a mindset problem. There's a belief system problem. There's a lack of infrastructure or structure or system or process in place that's allowing for chaos or confusion or sometimes it's shiny object. You just see people that are like the next best thing, and they're just constantly chasing the next shiny thing, and that's not things that are strategically designed to impact their business and give them the building blocks to grow. So it's a little bit different for everything. So again, I did turn around for a long time. That was just ignored or improperly managed or poorly, or not, absentee ownership. That's a whole different thing. But every sort of genre or stage of a business sort of has its own problem set, but they're pretty ubiquitous. They're pretty well shared across the same type of organizations.
All right. So coming up to the pepper lunch side of things, it feels like today you are everywhere on social media. The network of Troy Hooper, you are known by everyone. And it kind of takes me back to that whole consultant side of things where you guys were the information sharers. How has social media changed the consulting world? Instead of being able to have access to this person who knows the knowledge, it feels like people like yourself are coming on here and sharing that knowledge free of charge. Has it changed the consulting world at all?
I think for those that have acknowledged the benefit and the value of it, I never wanted or needed to use social media to find customers, right? To find clients. I've always believed in hand-to-hand combat and networking. If you do a great job for one person, they'll tell 10 people. So that was never.
You take care of the money people in private equity, and you're going to find some more money.
Private equity. I don't know if any private equities ever referred us. It's always the founders, but the point being that I really wanted to start to share information because there's more people out there that need it than I could ever help one-on-one. At our height, we had 16 clients, which was terribly too many. 6 to 8 was really a lot and enough. 10 was kind of our max after pandemic. A lot of people had money. A lot of private equity started investing in the downturn. And so and they weren't all the same level or same depth of client, but the point being that everybody has a different need at a different stage. And I just wanted to be able to share tidbits, information. So I just got on the airwaves, so to speak, during the pandemic. It was like, if I can say anything that helps somebody figure this out or get ready or, evolve their business to be more streamlined and in a better position to grow out of this scenario, I just started talking on the internet. It started with Clubhouse, where you could get in a room with 50 people you've never met and everybody's got an opinion, but everybody kind of was there for the same reason, was to give their thoughts, give their insights, pour into sort of crowdsourced problem solving live. It was pretty cool. And that has just evolved throughout all the platforms. Look, it's no secret. I try to talk about it. I don't talk about it that often, but I used to talk about it a lot. Is I just follow Gary Vee. I just believed in Gary Vaynerchuk's way of communication. We're the exact same age. We grew up very similarly in different places, him in New Jersey, me in Miami, but I resonate a lot with his style, with his mindset, with his process and belief system. And I've seen the results of a lot of what he's done. And so it gave me permission, what I already knew, what I thought I could do, and just talk straight and tell people what I thought they needed to know and needed to hear, and call their bullshit where they needed to be called out. And it's resulted in, being around, I guess, being out there, being seen, being heard.
I like the mentality of, there are more customers out there that need what I have, that abundance mentality that I can serve. So why not help the world?
Yeah, I've always believed in giving without expectation. That was born in me. My father was a tremendous giver. Opportunities to people in the construction business, you can be around some pretty savory characters. And he just treated people like people, humans like humans. And he didn't give a shit about their vices and their history and their challenges and their circumstances. He paid extremely well. He fed his people every day. He let them use company assets to move or build things or do side. My dad would let people take a company truck with tools and go do a side project on the weekend to make more money. But then, on the other side, very, very philanthropic. He was always involved in animal welfare and veterans affairs. And, but man, if we were driving down the highway and there was a family pulled over, we'd pull over and pull out our cooler and give them all the water and drinks and offer them a ride or go get gas for them or whatever. Just that kind of person. And so that mindset of giving without expectation has always been with me. And all I can say is it's a 1,000 million billion X the return of whatever effort you'll ever put out there. If you do it with the intent that there is no expected return on the effort, it will come back to you like the biggest boomerang of gold you've ever seen. It's just crazy.
What is it about restaurants? Because I get that same feeling for so many people that lead restaurant teams, right? Like it's almost like a family. How do I take care of Billy? And, restaurants have high turnover and there are people that get let go, but like the people that are there, you take care of. Yeah, it sounds very much like your dad.
It's servant leadership, right? It's a call of service in your gut. Like, who the hell chooses restaurants? Like, we choose it because hospitality. We choose it because we love people. We choose it because we love talking to people. We choose it because we love creating, feeding, nurturing people. We love facilitating the gathering and sharing of people. It just is the core of who you are. You cannot be in this business and be super successful at what, let's just call it the majority, right? The majority is small, independent, or very small group restaurants, 3 stores or less. That's the vast majority of this industry, right? Can you come from Harvard and take over a not doing so well legacy seafood based casual restaurant company and make some impact and not have hospitality in your heart? Sure, you can do that. And we'll see what happens. But I think most people in this business are in it for those reasons or are called to it for those reasons. And by the way, you're going to spend 16 hours, 18 hours a day with a group of people inside of 4 walls, sweating your ass off, hustling, doing your best to do your best together as a team. You're going to build camaraderie. You're going to build community.
Well, so the independent restaurant, right? It's a marketplace. The ones that do it survive. The ones that don't, are out. It's like self-select. I actually think it's the corporate chains that's more interesting. How do you select for the people that bring that and not necessarily the most capital? You look at a Chick-fil-A where, they're optimizing for how do I lower the cost of entry for a franchisee, pay more of a royalty and bring in the best operator and then not let them have tons of Chick-fil-A's. You get your one Chick-fil-A.
Texas Roadhouse too on the big format side, right?
Yeah. And so I sit here and I think, okay, you've got that mentality. You go into Pepper Lunch. Now you've got this, dilemma. Do I want to sign the contract with the person that's going to buy 30 units that may or may not operate them well? Do I want to grow slowly and get that great operator? How do you think about it?
Alignment. At the end of the day, alignment. And you have to know what you believe makes a successful franchisee. You have to know what you believe puts you in a position to have a good working relationship. The mindset in franchising is a big scale. And again, if you're about quality and longevity and quality of results, so the best quality stores producing the highest returns for them and for you as the franchisor, but doing it in the right way for the right reasons at whatever speed is required to get that outcome. That requires a lot of patience and requires a lot of faith. It's a big process. It's not easy. It's terrifying. And you are not going to bat 100, period. Just not going to do it. every group and every person is a different personality, and you've got to be adaptable, nimble, flexible, understanding, forgiving. You have to put your ego aside and think that you can't think you as the franchisor, you can't think you're the only way, this one way to do this the right way. There is a lot of ways to run a successful pepper lunch restaurant. You just got to make sure they stay within the general boundaries or guidelines to keep the brand intact. But other than that, like, it's okay if the ice is a different shape because they bought a different machine at the end of the day.
You talk about longevity and making decisions for the long term. That's tough as a consultant because it's usually get the train back on the tracks and then walk away.
Yeah, there's no longevity. The consultant does their best to set somebody up, give them all the tools and education they can in that time or under that scope or for that value. And then, you walk away and cross your fingers and hope. And the reality is most cases, humans are humans and they're going to revert back to their distilled center self that they were before you got there. And you're not going to change a human that much usually. And so more often than not, a lot of the former habits or things will, people go back to where they're comfortable, and you're not going to innovate. You're not going to grow that way. And look, you just latch on to the people that really, really hunger for growth and knowledge, and they want more experience. They believe that what they're being told is going to make a difference and make it make sense and make it work. And hopefully they latch on to most of it and they go with it. And
in some ways, you've been the business equivalent of a bachelor, right? You're having dates with all these different companies, getting them on the right train, and then, moving on. You got married to Pepper Lunch. Was part of it just to be able to see that longevity of the decisions? Like, walk me through how that happens.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, there is something that is inside you that says, not only do I want to be the person that makes the change and drives the bus and affects the future. And whether you're looking a month, a year, 3 years, 10 years down the road, or even further legacy wise, this is really about looking back and saying, hey, I was there then. I helped that. That was an idea that, I helped further or support or develop. That's, otherwise, what are you doing? You're just waking up and collecting a check. So there has to be purpose. There has to be drive. There has to be something you're working to do. And something like Pepper Lunch was fragmented and had a lack of leadership. But
how did it even happen, right? Like, how did your paths even cross with a Japanese firm?
Oh, how did Pepper Lunch find me? I did a podcast. Yeah, I did a podcast. A few months later, I met a gentleman named Stephen Hooper. I call him out all the time. He gets all the credit for this introduction. We started.
No relation, I take it?
No relation, actually. We tried. We thought there could be, but nope, turned out not. And anyway, we started to kind of get to know each other. And a few months after that, he got an email. A classmate of his from business school at Dartmouth had reached out and said, hey, I've taken over this holding company. We've bought this brand called Pepper Lunch. I need help setting it up and getting it going in North America. I got to focus on what we're doing over here in Asia. Who do you know? And he thought he was getting a consultant. I thought I was getting interviewed to be a consultant. And 90 minutes later, lo and behold, here we were. We figured out pretty quickly that we met each other's needs pretty well. And so
what'd you expect going into it and what'd you find?
No, I actually thought it wasn't even a consulting gig opportunity. I was asked to maybe give some introductions to some vendors, maybe consultants or lawyers or accountants, things to help them even get.
But it turns out to be a job, right? Yep. And you decide to take it. You walk in, what were you expecting? And did you think that after everything you'd seen, this was going to be a layup, right?
Like, no.
I've got this.
No. We knew it was going to be really hard work. Look, first of all, we were walking into a scenario where a new ownership group had bought a brand. And then when I got hired, bought our largest franchisee organization, our master outside of Japan. And there was going to be a tremendous learning curve for everybody bringing this all together.
Been around private equity, in private equity backed companies. So you're kind of familiar familiar with this.
Yeah, we were really lucky. This private equity was, you guys are the experts. You tell us what you need, you go do it. So it wasn't managed at all, which was great. We were able to put together a team of people that knew what they were doing, knew how to do what needed to get done, and then just had to come up with a vision and we basically built the plane while we're flying it. Had to start to row in that direction as quickly as possible, and then gain momentum and add people as we could and come up with that. So there was a basic vision, right? We want to grow in North America, we want to accelerate growth in Asia, but mostly we want to stitch this brand back together under one roof with one mindset, one leadership group, one vision, one goal, and start to all go in that same direction. And I love building, and that's what's exciting to me, is getting in early and building.
The stitching together is an interesting story. Before you get into it, though, paint the picture of what Pepper Lunch is, because for most people that are in the States, there may not be a Pepper Lunch on the corner.
Yeah, so Pepper Lunch is a Japanese fast casual teppanyaki for one, or we call it DIY teppanyaki concept.
Teppanyaki is?
Teppanyaki is Benihana, your neighborhood flat grill concept, generally. So what they serve in the United States is 90% of the time not the authentic teppanyaki cuisine you would get. It's a Americanized, whitewashed, westernized version. Not even really. The only thing is the damn hot plate. I'll be honest with you. That's the same. Because in Japan, teppanyaki is really one of the fine cuisines. It's one of the master cuisines. You have master omakase chefs. You have master teppanyaki chefs. And so this is a fast casual, affordable, fast service version of that type of cuisine, put into a model that is easy to execute. So we superheat an iron plate to 500 degrees. We put raw protein rice and veg, or protein pasta and veg, with 6 different sauce choices that delineate our categories: teriyaki, kimchi gongcha. We're known for our pepper rice, beef pepper rice, and pepper rice category, which is just salt, pepper, garlic, margarine, which is a very simple treatment, clean, healthy way to serve rice and protein and vegetables together. It's very tasty. It's very hot, sizzling wonderfulness. But look, we served 40 million plates worldwide last year, and knock on wood, have never had a claim, an injury, or even a bad review, to be honest with you, about it. So
40 million plates. And that was kind of where I was going with this. There's only a few of them in the United States, but this is a big established brand globally that's, entering the US.
Yeah, we have 9 in North America. 4 of those have been open for a little over 5 years. We'll open a total of 10 units this year. We'll double it each year for the next foreseeable future. But we have 548 stores worldwide today. We're opening about 3 a weekend over the last 2 months. So it's been pretty busy worldwide, but we're in every Asian nation. We're in 17 countries today. We have 2 more countries coming online in 2026. And we'll probably have 3 to 5 countries coming online between 27 and 28.
Gosh. All right. We talk about staying relevant, right? And, not just getting old as a brand and not following the consumer's needs. I feel like it's a catch-22, right? You say there's the whitewashed, Americanized version of it today that's, not authentic. That to me seems like following where your customer wants to go in some ways, right? You guys have stayed, very authentic, mainly because you guys are based in Asia. How do you thread that line of taking a traditional concept of the United States without, whitewashing it, turning it into, an Americanized half good version?
Look, people have always wanted authenticity. People don't want to go to the Maine lobster restaurant and get a bunch of stuff that you'd never see in Maine when you go to get a lobster roll. And that's just off the top of my head, a random example, but people want authenticity. I think longevity and numbers prove it. Look, there's a place for a lot of things out there. Bubba Gump and the Fertitta Group have carved a niche in the experiential space and the thematic space. But most of his money comes from casinos, right? So there's something for everybody out there. But I think, our customer is young, Asian, and savvy on the global scale. In the U.S., most of our customers were introduced to the brand through an Asian connection of some type, whether it's a colleague or spouse or exchange student. All kinds of. They traveled. They were in the military. We're very well known among the American military members because we have a lot of stores right outside or on bases. So look, we knew that in building a brand, we had to find our North Star. And for me, that's authenticity. It was actually distilling ourselves and making sure we are really concentrated on where we were founded, but also making sure we weren't audacious and not willing to be flexible. But what I was not willing to do was, again, westernize, Americanize, whitewash a brand that already just has ubiquitous awareness within a particular community and is gaining awareness outside of the Asian community worldwide. And I think people want to know that you stayed true to your roots and that you stayed focused.
You're not going mall food court is what I'm hearing.
Well, we look, as a modality, there are some malls in the country we will go to, but we are not Sbarro. No, when it comes to, no offense to Sbarro and the guys that do well with that, but yeah, look, it's just a different mindset.
I assume the trade-off there is the more authentic you are, the less applicable you are to a mass audience. Is that?
I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true.
Really?
No, and I think as Gen Z is gaining share of wallet, and Gen Alpha coming behind them, who will never know what the inside of a kitchen looks like. They won't know how to turn on an oven. They probably won't have an oven because robots and AI and things will be producing food like the Jetsons. The way the world is going is people want authentic experiences. They want to experience what other cultures, and whether it's food, music, art, other forms of media bring to them. I think authenticity and staying true to your core is what's going to differentiate you. We don't need any more generic, not authentic things. There's plenty of that opportunity out there. I think you're seeing brands like us be rewarded. Look, we've had same store sales growth every year. We've grown new store count every year. We are seeing a pretty good boom in the United States. We added $300,000 in AUV to our existing stores without any new store development in the last 20 months. Now we have new stores coming online. Our AUV will probably go up another 200 grand over the next year or so. People are rewarding us with repeat business, with referring new customers to us in pretty big scale. So no, I think authenticity and then you have to educate. Look, what is it? What does it mean when I tell a random person on the street, 500-degree hot plate Japanese DIY teppanyaki concept? You got to come in and check it out. And trust me, you walk in the door, you get it pretty quick. We have a great ambassador hospitality host that greets you and walks you through the menu. We have this amazing kiosk experience that visually shows you what you're going to get and what you can add and how you can customize it. So, you come to Pepper Lunch one time and generally you're a fan.
Well, I wanted to go to the kiosk and I wanted to go to the tech stack because I thought one of the things that was most interesting watching your journey through Pepper Lunch is you've seen this story many times. You've seen how people make mistakes and what they implement and why they implement it. You've always had a very hospitality first mentality. And I've watched you really say like, no, we're not going to do what everyone else does. Like, show me what your technology can do, and I will see if this actually makes sense and how it makes sense and what that flow is. So walk me through what your tech stack is, what choices you made, and why you made those choices.
Yeah, and look, we've made choices and made mistakes already. Look, I think part of that comes from the consulting side, that some consultants walk in and they have a pre-built package of vendors and partnerships. We have a black book. We definitely have vendors and partners and service members and technologies that we walk in the door with comfort and understanding and relationship. But it also goes to intent. My intent is to make sure that this business, whether it's Pepper Lunch or if I was your consultant, your business has the exact correct tools and resources and technologies and vendor partners and service partners that are right for your business at this stage that can scale with you to that next stage. And then that story might change over time. It will change, right? But at Pepper,
that's easier said than done.
No, of course it is, because it's easy to be comfortable and just go with what you know. I am a curious
you have
person.
To know what your brand is, right? What is the thing that you're selling? I look back at Jimmy John's. It was speed and convenience. We should have optimized every decision there. What's great hospitality? Don't talk to me and give me my sandwich quicker, right? Like, everybody else is different. What is your what is the product you're selling and how does that factor into what it is that you bring in technology-wise?
Well, look, we're an experiential fast casual concept. And I don't know anything since the invention of Chipotle and Blaze Pizza that has done anything that says experiential in the fast casual space. There's lots of pickleball and arcade and bowling and there's all kinds of cool stuff out there that are experiential. But in and out in 25 minutes for $25, get a hearty, healthy, tasty meal, get an authentic experience that is differentiated. I'm looking, but there's not very much, if anything, really else out there, and certainly nothing like Pepper Lunch. So the answer is, what are we trying to accomplish? What is the experience we want our customers to have? What is the experience we want our employees to have? Because a lot of the tech stack is behind the scenes and for them as well. And franchisees, we want to make their business operate optimally and efficient and bring them insights and information to do a better job. So, whether just tech stack alone, what are we trying to solve for? And then I'm a curious person. So, okay, look, I've put Toast in. Me and Mark and our team collectively have put Toast in about 30 brands since they started. Love Toast. I did not go to Toast first because I need to build a tech stack for a global organization that is going to triple in the next 10 years. We're going to be past 1,000 stores at the end of 2030 and past 1,500 stores 4 years later. So what is that global Asia-based, Asia-centric tech stack? Who can go there? And so we did start with a different solutions provider who got bought, and then whole thing kind of blew up. And so we got lucky that Toast, as a point of sale provider, had spent a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort convincing me after all that they were enterprise ready, and they already had these enterprise customers, and they were doing well, and they had a lot in the pipeline, and they were going to be able to support us. And my God, we've gotten the white glove, personalized, at the top C-suite treatment. It's been great. But I had to solve for the world problem, and that is not an easy thing to do. Most brands have different tech stacks in every region of the world. And we do too. We started that way because we were built on the master franchise model. Every master franchisee has their own tech stack, their own business intelligence, their own accounting system. And so we have to, over 10 years, change that.
I want to just go back and double tap into making the wrong decision with your point of sale company and then deciding to make that switch. That is hard. Getting everybody
luckily
bought
it was before we deployed. So that was one. And look, others have gone through this. It's not a secret. Dave's Hot Chicken is on their 4th or 5th point of sale provider in 7 years of existence, right? Now, some of that is about their scale and their growth. Some of that's about leadership change. Some of that's about capabilities and being willing to do the next best thing that's going to be what they need for the future. So we're not immune to this whatsoever. But I wanted to try very hard to find a collective solution of integrated technologies that would work or could work outside of North America in the long term. This is not overnight. We're not switching 500 stores in the next 6 months. This is probably a 10-year project because we have master franchisees we cannot compel to make the change until they renew. But all of our new franchise partners and all of our biggest and most well-aligned and partnered franchise partners are and do see the value. They do let us be. And by the way, one thing we make the promise of, we're the guinea pig. What I haven't said yet is the 548 stores, 136 of them today are corporate stores. We own 136 corporate stores in 3 countries and multiple territories within big countries like China. And so we will test it on ourselves first. We will be the guinea pig. We will spend the development time, money, and people to get it right and prove it to ourselves and then prove it to you. We have that ability. And that's more than many franchise groups are able to do. But we have this long-term vision, and we know what the value is going to be to the franchisee, and we know what the value is going to be to our corporate efficiency and optimization and performance. We want to do a better job for our partners. So we have to be on this journey together. And you have to, all stakeholders have to be at this table.
I remember you giving a speech in Chicago about how you viewed loyalty, and it was antithetical to like how most of the industry does. Give me the rundown on loyalty and how somebody like yourself views it.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to be controversial, but I'm not really, because I don't think that many people would argue against what I'm about to say. I think I did a little early slide and kind of tried to stir the pot to get people to pay attention. My view is this. Points for dollars is not a loyalty program. It's a feature of a loyalty program. It's a bigger feature of your entire marketing apparatus. And so what I try to call out is that if you ask, and many of these Data Essentials, Fran Data, Black Box, these guys ask every year, lots of customers, 1,000, 10,000, whatever number of 20,000 customers across QSR, fast casual, and all these modalities. What made you purchase today? Why did you choose Chipotle today? Why did you choose Kava today? And when they ask these customers why they bought, when they bought, what was the causation of that decision? The points in their app is always the last on the list. It's always 10th out of 10. It's 20 out of 20 usually if you ask 20 questions, but 10 reasons why you chose this to purchase here today at this time. Loyalty is usually the last, and it's about 10% of the decision-making tree overall. And so it's important. It has value. It has utility. Some people value it as a customer more than most. And so for those people, it's really important. So I don't think it's a don't have. I just don't think we should hang our entire consumer connectivity and relationship development on points per dollar spent. So that's my take. And I think there's a much bigger conversation and many more elements to what a loyalty or customer brand building, relationship building exercise should look like on a daily basis.
And not to bury the lead, but you're saying that loyalty is the least reason why somebody would go visit a restaurant. Or at least that's what you're seeing generally in the data. And yet I can tell you that the point of most pride I've ever had with my kids in a restaurant and the most joy my kids have ever had in the restaurant is the frickin' crane game at Texas Roadhouse. Like, man, when you catch the stuffed animal for your daughter and she drops and it's just joy and celebrations, like that is such a great moment. What was your solution?
You're burying the lead.
I think you've got something on the crane, which I thought was just genius.
I'm not the first person to do it. I will be the first person to do it.
First person I've heard.
Yeah. I had this idea about 2.5, 3 years ago. Unfortunately, we just haven't had a chance to get around to it until about right now. But look, that's the point though. The point is, how do you get people back into your stores? How do you incentivize them in a way that they care about? And it's not one trick. It's not one thing. I love Jason's Deli and Dickie's Barbecue do the same thing with, we've got the ice cream, free pour ice cream, right? And by the way, Pepper Lunch in Japan has free pour beer. You can go up and it's a tiny little cup, but you can, it's like a mouthwash cup, but you can go get free beer to have a little taste of beer with your steak, which is a great compliment, but to each other. But everybody's got their shtick or their thing. I don't think any one of these things is the thing. Are we going to come out with a claw machine and branded merch and fantastic prizes and an ability to build a relate? Yes, we are. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be tied to gamification on our app, which is coming out before the end of the year. Yes, but that's like campaign one, initiative one. We want to have the ability to build a relationship. We want to have the ability to talk to our customers and listen to our customers. The first 3 pieces of technology I employed when I took over were listening and engagement tools. How do we do secret shopper at scale with our existing and new potential customers? How do we listen to anything on the internet and any mention of our brand in social or review or anywhere else? How do we gather customer data like emails through Wi-Fi gating and now through our kiosk system? We want to gather the intelligence and the understanding so we can then speak back to them in the form of questions and offers and focus groups and surprise and delight and gifting and all these kinds of things. We will learn from them and we will get better because of it.
And yet the first thing you said was we get our best ideas listening to our franchisees. So like, are those two in contradiction at all, or are they complementary?
Every stakeholder has to have a voice. If you're just sitting in a glass house, is an old adage, and you're driving commands down from the top, you have zero relevance because you don't have the conduit, or the information has been so filtered to be what you want to hear by the time it gets to you. You don't have the truth. The truth is in the store. It's actually the store employee. Love you, franchisees, But it's actually your employees who know the most about what's really going on because they hear it, they see it, they sense it, they literally feel it. The energy changes, the attitude, the feedback loop. Then your customers, they're a stakeholder. They're not all the same. I've got 65-year-old grandma and grandpa in Alhambra who eat there once a week at 4 o'clock before they go to bed. But 50% of my customers are under 30. So I've got to consider everybody, but they're different. They're the same, but different. They're giving me money for food, but they have different motivations, different purposes, different gathering points, different reasons. I'll give you an example. You saw the numbers in Chicago. The numbers have been updated since Chicago. 1 store, 2 kiosks, asking for first name, last name, phone number, and correlating that purchase transaction, what they bought, to their name and phone number. What we found out of 5,519 unique phone numbers that came in to that kiosk in the first month, 320 of them came back more than once. 60 of them came back 2 or more times. And don't quote me the numbers off the top of my head, but I think 30 of them came back 3 or more times. 6 people in 30 days put their phone number in that machine 5 or more times in 30. 6 people came to that store 5 or more times inside 30 days.
So, but what do you do with that information? I think that's the thing that everyone's just
you act like a damn human. Yeah. Troy's picking up the fucking phone. I hope this is a show we can say F. And by the way,
and you go,
if you've ever heard me on stage, there's 1 F-bomb per speech. So you literally pick up the phone. Troy is, as soon as my little package is together here over here, they're going to get a surprise text message from me. Hey, this is Troy, CEO of Pepper Lunch here in North America. I noticed that you've been coming to our store a lot. When you put your phone number in our kiosk, we can see that you're coming often and what you're buying. We'd really love to have a conversation. But in the meantime, no, first and foremost, if you never respond to this, thank you, right? Thank you. Number 2, I personally would like to send you a package of a gift. I would like to send you something. Can you give me an address where I can send that to you? And if you need to confirm this, pick up the number and call me back because this is my number calling you from, and I'll confirm that I'm a real human and I'm really that guy. You can look me up on the internet, right? I want to send you a gift. And I'm going to send them a gift sort of proportionate to their frequency and volume with us. If you come twice in a month, you're going to get a mug and a pair of socks. If you come 5 or more times and 6 or more times in 30 days, you're getting the big brand swag box, right? I need you to go on the internet and do an unboxing and go, check out what Pepper Lunch sent me, right? And we have toys and plushies and keychains and socks and pickleball paddles, as you know. So, I'm gonna reward them and thank them authentically, but really the goal is not to just get an Instagram post. The goal is to start a conversation that leads to a real, actual relationship. Who should you ask for advice from more than somebody who comes to your restaurant 6 times in a month? Like, are you kidding me? They have intelligence. We want more of them. So how do we breed more of them? We listen to them. We do the things that they love to more people like them. And it is true for every segment. I'm okay with 1 time a month, 3 times a month, 6 times a month. They're different people. They have different motivations. They have different causations. We need to understand all of them and bring ourselves to the table to have a conversation with all of them.
In some ways, you're using technology to be more human. You'd love to pick up the phone.
Absolutely using technology to be more hospitable. Let me tell you the kiosk story real quick because we started on it with
Hit me.
So we put kiosks in. We started in late January, early February. They are all in by April in the US. And I can only tell you this, that since the beginning in 2023, February of 23, when I officially took on this role, we started listening on day 1. And the sentiment or the word mapping that people use to describe Pepper Lunch until April of this year, so for 2 full years, everybody said the same thing about Pepper Lunch. Sizzle, hot, flavorful, authentic, shareable, customizable, right? It was all about
you had to be proud about the authentic word coming up.
It was all about food and physical experience, the physical experience of being in the store and having the food. That's all that was on that word map. All anybody talked about at scale was our food and that experiential piece of our food.
What's that say to you though? I'm curious. Like
that's all we focused on. We can't, and
Interesting.
rightfully so. People are giving you money for food. You better get that right. But I never had any concerns about our ability to execute consistently because of our supply chain system, our training system. I really never had any concern. I had concern about keeping it up and continuing to do it well, especially with new franchisees, 100%. Over-indexing on training and time spent and care given. Great. But what happened, which was an absolute effing complete shock, sort of, caveat is I put a human in front of the kiosk, which I knew was going to do something. But we put we replaced a human cashier order taker with a white box machine and a screen. And today, 3 months, basically 4 months into full scale use of these kiosks, our word map doesn't have the word food, sizzle, hot, plate on it. Our word map, the number one word to describe Pepper Lunch today is friendliness, hospitality, service, care. It's all in the green. It's all in the feels. Nobody even talks about the food side of it, which I'm
assuming that had nothing to do with the menu change.
No, it has everything to do with the hospitality host and the ordering experience on the kiosk, walking people through how to build our meal in a way that makes them feel like they have ownership and agency over their experience. But we put a human out there, not the cashier that was there. Sorry, they're washing dishes now or whatever they're doing. We hired for the role. We created a role of intent that said, I need somebody who wants to 160 times a day, which is we sell about 320, 350 plates a day in the average store. Half of that day for that shift wants to talk to 160 people or groups of people and share their excitement and enthusiasm about what this brand is and what this experience is about and guide them to the kiosk and get them started and then stand there as a resource for questions, queries, thoughts. How do I do this? I have an allergy. I have a food restriction, whatever, and get some help from a human who gives a damn about their experience. That's how we achieved it. So it's not the box and the modality and just the beautiful workflow and UX UI of it. It's that plus a purposeful position created with intent to deliver hospitality. We've now taken a digital interface and made it a hospitable environment for people to live in.
You know, it's funny. The more I've spent time with people like you and Jason Berkowitz and Doug Glendenning, people that have worked in many different restaurant concepts, the first thing they say when they walk in the door is, you know, what hits you first? It's the first thing you see, hear, you know, taste. And you're basically saying we're going to bring in hospitality.
A smile.
First thing,
a smile,
first touch
a friendly
point
face is the first thing you see. And you see it 30 feet out. I promise you.
And this is not technology, right? You use technology to enable it. But at the end of the day, it's just simple human interactions, not reinventing the wheel.
Listen, so here's the punchline. We added a human being. We went from a busy store, peak time period, 5-person operation. It's designed to be run by 5 people, is now 6. We added a role. We increased labor, okay? But you know what happened? Our average ticket went up $5.68 inside 4 months. Our average plate went up $1.71. What does that tell us? Not only are they adding more to the plate, but they're actually adding more to the order in the way of sides and sides and drinks. Right? They're upselling into those additional items. That's number one. We're adding dessert next month. I'm adding a $5.50 dessert. If the whole table gets one cheesecake, yuzu cheesecake or flourless chocolate torte to share, the ticket's going to go up $5.50. And holy moly, if 2 or 3 or all 4 people at that table get their own, we're going to go up $20 a ticket, like on that ticket. And so the average of that is going to be massive. Again, hospitality meets technology meets user experience. We have probably refined the user experience roadmap a little bit on that kiosk every month since we turned it on. And you need to keep doing that. And you need to ask your customers, hey, does this make sense? What would you want to see? Did you find your way? Did you get lost? You know, where'd you get tripped up? And by the way, technology shows you that too. How much time do they spend on any given screen? There's all kinds of metrics and analytics you can use to figure some of that stuff out. We're not even there yet. We have to get started on it though.
all right, so we're going to take a total, out of right field, out of left field, like change of direction. And that's because in a lot of ways, it feels like a total left field change of direction. You, in this whole process with Pepper Lunch, you talk a lot about hospitality, the customer experience. You start incubating an idea around AI and franchising. How does, for a guy that's so people-centric hospitality, why and what?
Yeah. So you're referring to, we had a problem and we couldn't find a solution for it. And I got really lucky. I'm gonna lay it out. I got really lucky. My first hire was somebody I had worked with on several projects before, and I just call him a technologist. He's just a technology genius. He's a dog with a bone. He goes down a rabbit hole and he comes back with the answer. Period. Full stop. Tested, worked out. A/B case study in hand. Here's what we're doing. We have to do it this way. So I knew I needed this guy to help us begin to build the infrastructure, technology infrastructure at Pepper Lunch to differentiate ourselves in the market when it came to selling franchises. I wanted people to understand this brand, find this brand, experience this brand, understand what we were looking for in a franchisee, all that stuff. And so the big aha moment was we went looking for technologies to do that. We stitched a bunch of stuff together, just like everybody does. Google, Drive and Zapier and Airtable, and we did that initially so we could start to have an infrastructure. Then we said, great, there's got to be products out there that have kind of put this into a box and we can get into more of a streamlined environment. And we went looking and we found 3 or 4 of them. And we went through the sales process and the demo process and the learning all the way down to potentially signing an agreement. When I said, great, I got really lucky. You have 5 modules that kind of touch all parts of my business. While they don't solve everything, they solve a big chunk of what we need. So I want to engage with you, technology company, but I'm very lucky. I've got 10 department heads and you have 5 modules. I got enough people that specialize in enough areas that we can do all 5 modules at the same time. And the technology company said, well, so sorry, we can't. We're the largest, oldest thing in this industry. We can't do that. I'm sorry. And I said, excuse me. And they said, yeah, unfortunately, it's going to take about 9 months. It's going to take about $34,000 in development costs. We're going to charge you about $12,000 in monthly SaaS fee. And you're probably going to have to put your team members on 20 hours a week to work with us, some enormous scope of time. And I said, well, that's not.
And that's to say, to do what you ultimately do traditionally is a very expensive project.
Yes.
Is that fair?
It's incredible. And so I said, great, that's not going to work. And my guy said, look, what we need today is landing page, attribution of where people come to that landing page from, some kind of CRM and some kind of nurturing campaign system. He's like, let me just go build it. I can put this together very quickly. And so he got a couple of people he'd worked with in the dev side department, and they started working on just a singular CRM pipeline management tool for us at Pepper Lunch. In that process, I had an aha moment when I was like, if I'm selling franchises to multi-unit, multi-brand guys, minimum 5 units, minimum investment of, boy, we got to do something to be different. I had subscribed as a fake prospect to at least a dozen brands out there. And I experienced their franchise sales pipeline system. And I'm like, good God, these are all identical. They're just, everybody's doing the same thing the same way. And there's just nothing that stands out. We got to stand out. We got to nobody's ever heard of Pepper Lunch. We got to stand out. And so the aha moment was this brand information portal, this self-guided, step-by-step, learn about our brand. I'll give you some information about Pepper Lunch. You give me some information about you. I'll give you some more information about Pepper Lunch. And we'll go through this journey, automated, self-guided, click, read, click, watch, click, listen kind of experience. Very simple idea, almost like a link tree, but sort of controlled. And that was the big idea. So that's what he went to start to build.
But at this point, right, you are a franchisor that says the marketplace sucks. We should have a perfect system that does everything. And that's typically where everything starts to fall apart.
We like to say built by the franchisor for the franchisor, but the reality is it's really for everybody. We actually built it as a full end-to-end operating platform for the franchise business. And it's as valuable to the franchisor as the franchisee, as the vendor partners, as the service partners, et cetera. It really is a full ecosystem. So what happened was the idea was had here. We went outside to a dev shop and they said, we'll take it on. But instead of Pepper Lunch paying for it or owning the cost of the development, they took it on as their own, just call it a sweat equity project. They said, wait, we believe you. Wait, there's nothing in the market. Wait, what's in the market is antiquated. And a lot of people are saying they don't want to use it or they want to get off of it or they feel compelled to use it. They'd rather, there's a white space here. There's a big open space for in innovation and modernization of this idea. And I always have believed that we are moving as an industry back or more towards a full operating platform, operating system mindset, more integrated technologies within the same shops or in the same roof. And so I believed in this end-to-end operating platform. But really, we just started trying to build a CRM. And he said, we'll go do it and then we'll figure out. And then Pepper Lunch can get it for free, but we'll sell it to other people. So they created a company. They created a dev shop. They started working on it. And what happened was a few months into this, hey, we've put in this little CRM queue. A few months in, they're like, so what happens when you go to make a sale? Oh, you have to do this legal process. And what happens once they become, you have to onboard them? Well, onboarding is like step 1 on day 1 and step 1,000 on, day 365, right? Like there's this very prescribed process of onboarding and finding stores, opening stores, training staff, right? There's a pretty laid out process, right? So yeah, of course we have, thousands of pages of manuals that outline that. And they're like, cool. So we can use AI to turn that into populating a platform as long as we build a platform that can accept that information. So they decided as a company to just keep going down that rabbit hole. You start here by trying to find franchisees and knowing where they come from and knowing what advertising works and then how to get all the way to managing the franchisor and the franchisee managing locations and hours and menu and all the things that go on over there. So they've been building for 2 years. They're still building. They've created a great product called Franchise Systems AI. We're very fortunate at Pepper Lunch that we get to use it as the alpha customer for free for life worldwide. And we are still onboarding pieces of it every day. And every month they come up with updates and new features and things we can use. And this is a long way from being done, but it's a phenomenal product that about 14 brands, multi-brand platform is using, 2 multi-brand platforms are using, multiple small independent growth brands, mid-sized brands are using. And so they're the beta customer that, pays a fee and a little SaaS fee and they get to get the product, but they also get to give feedback. So it is literally being built by the industry for the industry. The customer is driving the intelligence that's driving the development. And I mean, everything is being done for the customer, by the customer in this journey. So at the end of the day, you're going to end up with this platform that legacy-wise, Pepper Lunch is going to have tremendous value from long-term. And so is the rest of the damn industry. And not just restaurants. It's definitely all restaurants to start out with, but there are efforts by that company to go out and get people across the franchise industry outside of restaurants. And that's starting to come fruition for them. So really excited, really proud to have borne the idea, given somebody a concept, and then they go run with it and build a product and a team and a business that is really going to matter to this industry long term.
So I think there's this interesting paradigm shift from the industry by the industry. The problem with the industry leading technology projects is that we don't really know technology projects. So you make a mistake at the beginning, you have to scrap the entire system, redo it, right? AI has changed a lot of that, where all of a sudden you can automatically program and do the coding where, it's like, no, I don't like the button here. Let's just redo the entire UI. And it starts again. Would it have been even possible, or cost, prohibitive to have done this if AI wasn't part of the building process?
Yeah, well, look, it accelerates. It allows fewer people to build much bigger, better, deeper things faster, 100%. But building AI, as you know, and I think I don't know how you guys did what you did so fast, but I think when you're super, super niche in one thing, it makes it a little easier to get going faster and deeper. So I think there were some lessons there to sort of narrow down the scope of focus of the AI tools, but 100% AI has accelerated everything, not about just that product and its usefulness, but the reality is at Pepper Lunch, we haven't written a piece of copy in a year and a half. We now are getting to a point where we are replacing model shoots with models with AI. It's getting really close to being good enough to produce what we need without sort of having those shoots with, different people and different settings and things.
I was talking with a buddy of mine that just opened his restaurant, and literally he had all of his images AI generated. He's like, Matt, they were just as good if we had it professionally done. I didn't have the budget. My iPhone wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah. And look, we have a budget and we deploy that budget. And when I see pictures that are just as good, I want to redeploy that budget to other things, to be frank. And so it is what it is. And it's not 100% of the time. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to always replace everything today. Maybe in 6 months or a year it will. But man, we use AI for so many things, just at Pepper Lunch, just internally in our systems and our processes. It's made us smarter. It's made us faster. It's made us go better, go deeper, and be more professional. So
I think the thing that excites me most is the by us, for us side of things. The same guy that did the AI and AI generated images, he called me the Friday before they opened on a Monday. And he was trying to figure out, how do I get, what I'm going to sell tomorrow on a web screen? Because he didn't have like a back of house system, but he had a hooked into Olo's system, and he was using like ChatGPT to try and write something to do it. And I said, you should try Claude. It does a better job on coding. He texted me a half hour later. He's like, spent 10 hours on that. Claude did it in 30 minutes. And now I don't think he has a back of house software, but he's got something that's been built by him that he can literally just go change and add things to. That power dynamic and the switch, that's going to change a lot of things. Maybe not today, but over the years.
Yeah, it's not going to take long. It's changing a lot for a lot of people already. For sure. For sure. I mean, and I don't think we're anywhere near as advanced as many people are in this business with use of AI, but we're trying, and we think of it and we try it and we muddle through it and we find efficiencies and values. But yeah, it's something for everybody to be serious about.
My last question for you is just broadly speaking about AI in the restaurant industry and maintaining hospitality, something that you seem to have done pretty artfully up until now. How do you view that tool and that technology coming down the pipe as a way to enhance technology or enhance hospitality versus just, one more piece of technology?
The broad answer, and I'll give maybe an example that's a little creepy, but the broad answer is it's going to be able to take all of the data and intelligence that we know about you as a customer and make your experience as one-to-one, personalized, individualized as possible. The inauthentic or scary or creepy piece of that is there is an AI avatar. I've had an AI avatar of Troy, a real one, since May of 23. Now, of course, that was a really janky compared to today, right? They just get really good. So I don't want it to feel inauthentic, but I mean it. I want to be able. We have 5,519 phone numbers from one store in 1 month. I want every single one of them to hear, hey, Matt, really appreciate you coming by Pepper Lunch today. I hope you had a great experience. If there's anything I can do, please reach out. Here's our contact. And if there's anything you'd like to see, here's some things we're thinking about, or here's some things coming soon. Or we hope you get excited as we are about the dessert or the kids menu or the claw machine or whatever's coming down the pipe. And we want to be able to scale that, right? We want to be able to have that conversation with everybody. And I can't record 9,000 different names a month. AI is going to help me do that, right? I want to personalize it, and I want it to be to the individual thing. You came with it looks like you came with a couple of people today. You came with a group. You came by yourself. Whatever. We want to really, really personalize it. That's just an example of how AI is going to help us scale that and make that really, really personal. But taking data, parsing data, as you know, which is what you do, and making sense of it in a way that we can then utilize that to be more hospitable. That's really the goal. That's the North Star.
How do we use technology to do more human things at scale?
Absolutely.
Well, Troy, I appreciate you taking the time, man. This was great.
Thanks for having me on my second longest podcast in history.